Good morning. This is Talking Devils, your favourite Manchester United podcast. I'm Wayne Barton, bringing you today's podcast with Manchester United legend Paul Parker. Good morning, Paul. How are you doing? How was your weekend?
The weekend, definitely improved yesterday, but I started off with my local team being at London Stadium, or don't know, the bowl of doom as it's been called lately. Watching West Ham or working co-commentating for West Ham v Sunderland, and it's good to see them win. I was just surprised with Sunderland's performance. Really, there was just missing one player. And that one player, as I've seen from that one game, which he has missed all season, is without doubt their most important player.
Yeah, we were just talking before we came on. I had Granit Xhaka. I think when he played for Arsenal, I had him down as a bit of a thug in midfield, but he certainly proved me wrong. Not that he sent out to prove me wrong at all, but he certainly has. He's been a great player throughout his career. And yeah, they certainly do miss him when he's gone. And yeah, Sunderland were impressive earlier in the season. And yeah, if you lose to West Ham, how impressive can you be? And I say that as a United team, as a supporter of United team, we've dropped plenty of points to this West Ham team. Okay, but yeah, better weekend after yesterday's result, and we'll be talking about that, of course, and the performance as we go along. So get your comments and questions in. We'll get to as many as we can live. Obviously, if you're listening back, that's no good to you. And I'll just give a couple of the transfer rumours that are, well, there's just one transfer rumour today to kick off with. Mohamed Keda Mita, who plays for Rennes, he's been linked with Chelsea and United. And on this day in 2018, Alexis Sanchez made his debut for Manchester United. Yeovil seemed, that was 8 years ago today, and it seemed like we took about 10 years getting him off the wage bill. Jose Mourinho's birthday today, so former United manager Jose Mourinho. Funnily enough, we started this podcast around about almost exactly this time, 7 years ago, I would say. And because Solskjaer had just taken over, and on yesterday was the anniversary of the day that we beat Arsenal in the Cup. So good anniversary for going to the Emirates and winning. Solskjaer, I think that was his 8th game in charge, and he delivered 8 wins on the bounce. Incredible feeling, but we're kind of feeling that way again this morning. As Bill says this morning, he says, "Good morning, both. Very happy Monday for 2 weeks on the bounce. What is this feeling?" Yeah, my predetermined script for the podcast for so long is like another mixed week for Manchester United or another disappointing week for Manchester United. But I'm not quite sure what to make of this, Paul, because that's 2 wins in 2 big games and 2 performances. I'm not going to get carried away and start talking about Michael Carrick just yet. As a permanent manager, it's going to be part of the narrative from now until the end of the season. But God, it feels good. We'll talk about the game, Paul. But one of the best things to come out of it is just that United are starting to feel like United again, and that's something that's not something that we should take for granted. We can't, considering we've seen so little of it over the last 10 years.
Yeah, but we've seen these kind of performances in these kind of games.
Yeah.
If we know, what I'm saying. And every time I'm that skeptic who's waiting until a lesser game, and when there's this good feel factor and you get let down, to be perfectly honest. And as I said before, you can't guarantee a win. You can't always guarantee a good performance. But if you've got a little bit there of fire in your belly and you want to give everything, then it's amazing what you can make happen. And that's what's going to happen in the next game. It has to happen next game. Fulham is one of those sides again who have enjoyed a few trips to Old Trafford of late.
Yeah,
one of those sides, and there's a lot of them now where before they were so nervous to come, but now a lot of them quite look forward to it. Now Fulham, off the back of a great win for them at the weekend, and now I'm just been seeing, and they're kind of talking now, and they're feeling confident, but. You look at United, and I saw those 2 performances. The City one was a little bit diluted because of City during the week and what happened there. But this Arsenal one was massive. and it definitely made my weekend really, really good. It really, really made. The missus was happy because West Ham won and won well. And for me, having to travel into Talk Sports studios, so I even went earlier to avoid Arsenal fans, a lot of them, the majority of them going to that game. I didn't want to be near them, so I went in early to watch the 2 o'clock kickoffs in the studios. And then coming home, I didn't really care, to be perfectly honest. Even that point, I didn't even put my earphones in, so people and have my head down looking at my iPads. I did, because normally I don't want to look at people. Arsenal fans, I didn't want to look at them if Manchester United had lost, and it was a great feeling coming back on that train. And Arsenal fans, weren't singing their one and only song.
Yeah.
And I won't bother giving it to you, but the clue is it's the name of their football team. So,
Relay. Do you know? What I thought you were going to say? Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, because they resemble a rugby team.
No, they've only got Arsenal. A bit like Chelsea. It must be a London thing. But they are annoying, and they're annoying to everyone who supports any other London side, and I think they're annoying to a lot of sides outside of London. So all I say is I just want to see the same commitment, and there's certain players that still I'm waiting for the normal bits to happen again, that good feel factor, and they do this and do that, then all of a sudden it just goes back to reality, and all of a sudden here it goes again, rinse, start again.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. There's a little bit of hesitation there. I will say as well, one thing, I don't engage with a lot of fan media these days because I think this is so beyond toxic. But I had to go and watch the Arsenal fan TV thing because earlier in the season one of the lads called you out. You remember us talking about it. The one who has all the Arsenal paraphernalia on, I think he might be your age, Paul, but he wears the Arsenal headphones, he's got an Arsenal cup, he's got an Arsenal jacket, and he called Paul Parker a disgrace earlier in the season. And I thought, no, do you know what? I'll seek out him and see what he had to say about the game, and couldn't give United any credit at all. He's complaining about the refereeing decisions. He's saying Arsenal deserved to win. United didn't deserve to get anything from the game. Arsenal deserved at least a point. And I'm like, what game? I mean, I remember being like that when I was 10. To be fair, when you were playing for United, we deserved to win most of the games that we played. So even if we didn't win, we could go, oh, yeah, we deserved to win that one. But Arsenal didn't deserve anything from yesterday's game. It was really, really surprising. We'll get to that now, obviously. So Bill said, I thought Danny Murphy had a good point on Match of the Day. Against the big teams, they come at you. Test will be the sides who sit back and we can't break down. Also worried Cunha will get banned for swearing. Yeah, we'll come to that.
Do you know what? Sorry, Wayne. Danny Murphy says that against the big sides, against the big teams, they come at you. No, Arsenal don't come out.
Oh, yeah.
You remember this time last week, I said, I've just got a feeling about playing Arsenal and the way they play will suit United. I'd said I'd only make one change, and that would be at right back for Masraoui instead of Dalot. And I would keep the team that he put out against City would suit playing against Arsenal, because Arsenal don't have midfield players who run beyond. They don't move the ball quickly, and they don't run. And they've got no runners. And their most creative player would be sitting on the bench, which was Eze. And that was so Danny Murphy there. I don't agree with that.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I think 2 of the goals came from Arsenal sitting back and allowing us to have the ball in front of them, especially the winning goal. It's funny. I'm just trying to look up now the name of who was the guy, the ex-City guy who was on the FA when Rooney was suspended for the semi-final in 2011 when he was banned for swearing in the camera at West Ham, and he was banned for the semi-final. And the guy who was in charge, he looked like one of the Thunderbirds guys. The guy who was in charge at the FA, he had a high role at the FA, and he was in charge of that thing. He basically was responsible for Rooney getting banned for the semi-final against City. Someone, if you're watching this, and there's a few of you watching, Google who it was, the name, because it's driving me nuts. The City guy who was there, and he was involved in the ban for Rooney. But yeah, it's a good point about Cunha possibly getting a ban for swearing, even though that seemed to die a death after that. Rooney got banned for it, and then no one else did, and plenty of players did it. Siegel says, it's amazing how a team will play when players are played in the best positions. Amorim was a problem. Yeah, maybe. I think there's a bit more to that. And you've got to say as well, I keep banging this drum a lot, but look, I'm definitely not an advocate for Amorim staying in the job. But what I will say is that he did have good performances in these kind of games, but Carrick did as well. So let's talk about it then. So I think, we'll talk about the individual moments, the goals themselves. We'll pick through the goals individually, but we'll talk about the performance first of all, Paul. And we won 3-2. Mbeumo, Dogu, Cunha scoring. Martinez with the own goal. Merino scored from a corner late on. Arsenal's game plan, exactly what we expected. Like you said, they sit off in normal time. Sometimes they do try and compress the play. If a team sits back, they'll try and force you. But all it is about playing the percentage to win a set piece. I've never seen anything like it. And like before, when we've seen it at Old Trafford, I thought, all right, well, that's a team coming to Old Trafford. That's Arsenal playing away from home. And playing like that. But to play like that on their home ground is just absolutely incredible. There was no real quality. I thought this is a team who were convincingly lead. They could have ended the game 7 points in front. So we've talked about the quality of the league, but they were so poor throughout. As I was watching, I'm thinking this can't be their only tactic, and it was. United took 30 minutes to calm down. But they were in control from the second they went behind. It got a bit of a reaction from them, and it was incredible to see that, which is a shot in the arm to the players. You've got to give them credit for that because they were on top by the end of the half. And we'll talk about, like I said, we'll talk about the goals. But in terms of the flow of the game, Paul, even the second half, United scored, they were on top. Arsenal made all the changes, but they never really did anything apart from always playing for corners. And the other thing was trying to get Saka onto his left foot, and United only allowed that once, and that was when Casemiro slipped and just sort of took his eye off the ball. I think they'd moved Saka over to the left, but then he sort of took 2 minutes back over on the right, and Casemiro didn't track him properly, allowed him in, he got the shot, and Lomans did well. They got the corner from that, and obviously they scored from that. Like I said, we are going to talk about the goals, but the general performance overall, Paul, because then we reacted after that and we scored straight away the winning goal, and it was such a great goal. The goals were so stylish. United enjoyed that freedom that they were allowed to play. The build-up for Dogu's goal was incredible. I thought Kobe was great again. I thought Casemiro was very good. Dogu was fantastic. And Mbeumo obviously was brilliant, and then he had a bit annoyed when he came off, but Cunha fantastic once he came on once again, and just like I said, Carrick hit all the right notes, he picked the right team, and they played fantastically. I mean, there can be no doubt. I mean, on a game judged by its individual merits, United thoroughly deserved to win that game.
I would have said so. If you were to dismiss the 30 minutes, I don't think it can be much of an argument. As much as they had the ball, you knew what they were going to do. They passed a bit like City, but they had no idea how to progress. Everything they do, Arsenal, they talk about it. They talk about Odegaard, and they did something. Someone asked a thing out about Odegaard up against Bruno, and it was quite embarrassing. I had to say something what he'd done, because it was Martin Keown, Arsenal lose 5-0, and he'll blame the referee, he'll blame the way the wind's blowing, he'll blame everything except the actual team, Martin Keown with Arsenal, and it was quite embarrassing. But he's meant to be their so-called playmaker. And to be honest, it makes me feel almost physically sick watching him play, because he's like a toy you buy for your child. It just goes round and round in circles and just goes to a corner and completely spins on the spots and comes back. So they don't play with any progression in their passing. It's just for the sake of it. There's nothing really going forward, and they look to get wide, and all they're looking for, as you said, is about dead balls. The moment they go around the outside, there's no great conviction, because they're happy always to take the corner. And then it becomes the military bit. It virtually becomes, it's like watching the trooping of the colours at a football ground. The way everything about the whole thing, the fans seem to get behind it. It's like it's like an orchestrated crowd as well, the way they are. Everything is like military rule, and it's tedious. It's quite boring, and a lot of their fans are going that way now. I think that game yesterday has put them under their biggest ever pressure, and it's not by the defeat. It's about the manner of the defeat as well has made a big difference. Till now, fans are thinking, "Oh, what's going on here?" There was a few of them looking for little bits out of the game, to reasons to moan, and there was nothing there. And so that 30 minutes, it wasn't great. The only letdown in the front three of that first half, that 30 minutes, was the front three, because they was never in it. They kept getting caught on the ball. They overpassed. It needed a little bit of, when they were coming forward that way, you got two of them with decent pace to turn them around or get the ball to Ahmad's feet. The moment they started getting the ball to Ahmad's feet when they went behind, all of a sudden Arsenal couldn't deal with it. They just want you to play the way they want you to play. And initially for 30 minutes, it suited them the way United were playing. Bruno was having an absolute torrid. He was terrible. Cheap on the ball, giving it away cheaply, blaming people who weren't doing what he when he made a mistake, they weren't doing what he thought they should have been doing. It was terrible. And the goal was when you can talk in hindsight, it was a massive slap in the face, and it woke them up, because after that they had a go. Arsenal gave them two opportunities before they scored, because, as mentioned, they want to play with no fear on the edge of their own box, yet they won't play without any fear when they're in their attacking thirds. It's got it the wrong way round, Arsenal, totally. And we keep reading, and they keep talking about their two centre-halves are the best ever centre-half partnership in the Premier League. They're talking about Sabit, what's his name again? There's Gabriel and
Saliba,
Saliba. It's like Saliba's this and that, and he's great on the ball and everything. And I'm kind of there, and I'm looking, I'm going, nervous. The game was too big for them. They couldn't deal with the game, those two. Gabriel wanted to be a thug, but he had no one to be a thug against, because the players weren't playing to his strength of just going up against him. Because every time he went up against Bruno, he just kind of looked at him and walked away. He didn't get confrontational. He wanted to get confrontational. So I think for the rest of it, for the hour of that football match, Manchester United were by far and away the best team. And the thing about it as well, Wayne, that is their best performance for that hour that United have played in years. As in a game of that magnitude, away from home, it was everything that Manchester United were all about under Sir Alex.
Yeah. And to build on what we were talking about last week as well, with last week being one of the best that we've seen for so long, to build on that with two, I mean, it's all right winning the games. I remember us having a conversation in those early weeks under Ole, like what he did at the Arsenal game, which was, like I said, it was 7 years ago. 7? My God, what's my brain doing? 6 years ago? 7 years ago, when we played Arsenal in the Cup, and he played Lukaku from the right, and he played Sanchez from the left, and he put Lingard through the middle. Good tactical, like he was only 8 games in, like I said, but he had the bravery to do that. The point was that United were clinical on that day, and they took the chances. Yesterday wasn't like that. They were clinical, but they were so dominant in the way that they played football. And like you said, it looked like a proper United thing. And so maybe for like, after all these good start, we were saying, well, they're getting the results and they're tactically doing well and they're getting through games, but the performances aren't generally outstanding. The performances in the City and Arsenal games have been absolutely outstanding, particularly the reaction. He said there, we were given 2 chances. There's a thing about Mbeumo, which is something I love about him. And Cunha is exactly the same. He's got the same qualities that they sort of like feel the heat of the game. I don't know how better to describe that. So when he gets his chance first off and he runs through, you think he's going to take that chance and score and shoot across goal. It's exactly the same kind of area from which he scored against City. But I think it's cold. It's too cold in the game. It's his first chance, like you said. They've not had a sniff, and so he goes through. And maybe he gets a shout from Bruno, I don't know, but he second guesses himself and he turns back and Bruno thrashes at it. Bruno, I mean, it is good defending for the second chance that Bruno has, where he's just taken off his toe the last second. But so we've thrashed at those chances, and you think no, but then they give him the chance again, the third one, and he's so cool and considered. But then the second half, like you said, I think they played around him for the second goal, so I think that's fantastic. It's not necessarily a case of Arsenal just sitting off, but the third goal, sorry, the second long range goal was a case of Arsenal sitting off and allowing Cunha the space, thinking, and I don't know what they were thinking, but they allowed him the space to shoot from 25 yards, and he scored an absolute screamer. And that, I think that's going to have been something that's talked about in that game plan from Carrick. Must have been to say, like, they are going to give you that space around the thing. They're not going to close you down. It's a strange tactic defensively, right? Because you're a defender, Paul. You know, we've talked, one of the biggest things we've talked about, and it is in relation to the United team, is sniffing danger. And to not smell that kind of danger when you've got a game on you know what I mean? You're going to lose the game. The game's going to get turned against you. It's crazy. No one even went near Cunha. There was not even a hint of a challenge.
Well, the thing about it is Gabriel, maybe because that certain players made a massive impression on him, but he was trying to do a Van Dijk and have a little bit of a twerk up and go backwards. You know, virtually saying no one beats me, no one goes past me. I'm just going to go backwards. And that's what he done. And he goes back and you see me, he turns side on. He has his arms in close from behind his back or something. And you can see he turns his body away. And what he does, Cunha, and I don't know if he means to do it, but he actually uses Gabriel as a block. So Raya doesn't see the ball until maybe a little bit too late for him to get across to his left. But he utilises that situation. And it's another thing in the game today, because it's got, you know, I'm going to, I'll say it now, is that you look at Dorgu's goal, and I saw a goal at West Ham by Fernandes in midfield, the third goal for West Ham, scored from distance. No one is shooting anymore. No one wants to shoot because they're worried. All these stats, this XG rubbish, and it's killing our football. And it's players are scared to shoot because they're worried, because everything about players now is numbers, and they'll talk numbers before they talk performance. And it's performance, as far as I'm concerned, before you talk in numbers, because numbers hide performances.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you're catching goalkeepers unaware, because goalkeepers are waiting for shots from 6-7 yards and things like that's how this XG rubbish is made up on. It's 6, 7, 8 yards. No one's scoring from out. So if you start shooting from outside the box, if you put it on target, you're going to get a reaction from the goalkeeper. And when they save it, everyone says, out of this world, fantastic. But in theory, goalkeepers would be better if they actually did that. Do they shoot from distance in training to keep them aware that players just might do that? Because United scored 2 goals from distance, and because where people are sitting, you know, look where people are sitting from, you're catching them unaware. So you only get out what you put in, and then you look at the way they. And Arsenal, this season, you're never going to go and batter Arsenal. They're never going to batter you, because they never really threaten. Goalkeepers generally don't have to overwork against Arsenal, because they want to pick their little bits to try and score. But the other end, they live off the fact of not to give chances away. The reaction of Arteta after the first opportunity, the first one that Bruno got, he was on the touchline. Bless you. It seems like It seemed like Bruno had this unbelievable strike, and Raya's got him out of trouble. It wasn't. It was a bad miss by Raya. But his reaction was incredible. It was absolute, like they conceded the match win. They've just lost the cup final in the last minute. He was absolutely fuming. I think to myself, the players can see that, your reaction, and it just doesn't bode well. And you're going to get your opportunities. And as you mentioned earlier, you have to be clinical. But the goals they scored, I mean, you talk about being clinical, if you miss from 5 yards or things like that, 10 yards, but they were outstanding goals to score. And not many teams, I've seen teams go to the Emirates, and I've been there on 2 occasions this season working. I've seen teams go away from there, and they're mostly saying to themselves, we could have had something, but we never took it.
Yeah.
So that is what generally has happened before. And their fans, always in the last 10, 15 minutes, they're watching Arsenal sit back and and their fans are on edge. They're very, I use the word again, orchestrated in what they do. They go into panic mode. Before they equalise, it was so quiet. There was nothing coming from them. What you'd get from Liverpool fans or clubs with decent fans who, you know, it's not always about being in front and playing well. Sometimes you'd have to give a little bit. But they were the moment they scored that goal, when you see Arteta suddenly doing this Arsenal PR stunt of every player, when they do something, get a corner or in a free kick in a good area, give it all that arms up to the fans, a bit like Mr. Dallo does. All that stuff, and he's doing that, Arteta, when they scored that second. So for me, when Cunha scored that goal, and I'm not one of those people who goes over the top and anything. All I wanted to do really was I just wanted to be able to see Arteta, because 2 minutes earlier, whatever it was, because it was minimal, he was all of a sudden, he put himself in, it's all about me scenario. And seeing him after, it would have been absolutely fantastic. What a great time to go and score, because all of a sudden, a lot of the Arsenal fans were thinking about leaving early because it's a horrible place to get away from. There was empty seats around, and then they suddenly come back again. The blood vessels were busting, and then it just, woof, it absolutely killed them. And if you could plan it, that's how you would love it. Football to be in that certain way. It's for me, it's the best Premier League game of the season.
Yeah, it was really good, and that's owing. I mean, first of all to the drama, but second to the quality of the goals and the quality of United's performance. Really, nothing like. And it's difficult to say this when you've won a game of football and like you're wanting to be graceful and that, but I really can't get over how horrible Arsenal's approach is. I just come to some comments first of all. The name I was thinking of earlier was David Bernstein, the City executive who was involved in the Rooney ban. Siegel says Cunha doing the stanky leg at the Emirates was the icing on the cake. I'm not down with whatever that stanky leg is. Or was it Millie Rock, the Lingard dance that he did twice at the Emirates as well? Bill says, how good has Harry Maguire been since coming back as well? Has there ever been a player who took so much criticism but comes back like him? I can almost guarantee that Paul will be saying, pick a different defender to play against Fulham because they're a different kind of threat. At the same time as saying Maguire was outstanding in the 2 games in which we played because they're the kind of games that suited him. In fact, he did well yesterday, and it's not really the kind of game that should have suited him, but he was very good yesterday. But we'll get to that a little bit later. Patrick, good morning, sir. He says, now this is what I do want to get onto straight away. Good morning, gents. Mr. Paul Parker. Mr. Parker called it right last week. Arsenal have given up on playing football. Certainly seemed like that yesterday, which is strange given the players they have. Exactly. The data-infused NFL team playing percentages. It is horrible to watch. There's moments in the first half yesterday where Rice was going into players, and it looked like the Rice that I saw at West Ham. There was a game we've played at Old Trafford. It was a game where he came out and basically did a come and get me plea to United to sign him, like, oh, Old Trafford's a great place to play and all that. And I think it was the one where Rashford scored in the last minute. But Rice was dominant on the pitch. He was everywhere on the pitch. And there were flashes of that yesterday. And you think, if you've got a player like Declan Rice in your team, like they had against Real Madrid when he scored those 2 free kicks and he was so good, you think, play that player to his strengths and allow him to dominate in the way that he can dominate. And they've got a few players like that. But then the rest of the team is decorated with this, like, I don't know what you call them, like average squad players who play percentages who've been instructed to. Trossard is a player who can nick goals, and Marino is a player that can nick goals. What are they players that you expect to be in title-winning squads? I just don't know. And more than the players, it's the tactics. You think that it's such a contradiction in terms because obviously through the tactical exploit, Arsenal are top. They've only scored 2 goals in open play at home all season, apparently, I read, which is incredible. Or they've only won 2 games in which they've scored goals from open play, which I just think is absolutely crazy. It tells you a lot about the way that Arsenal play. And we'll talk about United's goals in particular, the Dogu and the Cunha ones, because we've said in general, but I wanted to talk about the Arsenal equaliser first and foremost, Paul. They scored the goal. It's gone over the line. There's no doubt about that. They played for it. They finally got one. I do. It does grind my gears a little bit that United just give so many corners away, knowing that they're going to do it. But they defended them by and large fairly well, apart from this last one here. This is a good 17% of goals from open play as well, which is damning. One of them was a horrendous slice from Odegaard and slice from Martinez, which I thought, you know what, sums up Arsenal as well. Steve said, no relation, but good morning, Steve. He said, morning to you both. Yeah, there's this equaliser to make it 2-2 when Mourinho scores and forces it over the line. No one can doubt it's gone over the line. But you watch it back, and really it does take a couple of watches back, and the first thing you see is that Luke Shaw's being pulled away from someone. If you watch it enough, but there are not enough angles on these replays of this goal in particular to tell you enough about it. Looks like there's a bit of a push on the goalkeeper as well. I mean, the tactic, first of all, Paul. I mean, I'm going to ask you two questions. The tactic itself is ridiculous. Like it's anti-football. I mean, yeah, all right, it's scoring a goal, and no one can debate its effectiveness. It's there and it's doing it, but it's horrible to watch. Imagine paying. I've said this on Twitter. Imagine paying all that money, and this is what you're watching your team set up to just win situations like this and score goals. You can't even tell who scored until they announce it, and they've got to wait and watch the replays because it's a nonsense. It's not attractive to watch. The second part I'm going to ask you is not about the attractiveness. That's the first part. The second is whether or not it only works because referees aren't brave enough to call for a foul every time. But there are fouls in there every single time. I want there to be an analyst who is employed to go back and watch their last 100 goals from this kind of setup, or the last 100 corners, and find just how many fouls there are that are committed within there. Because there were 2 fouls in there for their equaliser yesterday. And I think it's more of like a chaos theory that the cameras can't catch everything if there's too many players in a condensed period. Like, you know, when they do like the village murder, like someone gets killed, but everyone did it, so you can't nail down the victim. That's like the Arsenal's goals. They like score goals, but everyone commits a foul, so you can't say that there's a foul in there. And I think that that's the tactic. But at some point, right, there's the line of protecting players. There are going to be players who revolt against this tactic, and they get angrier, and it'll cause inflammatory situations. So then you're not protecting the players, and you're actually endangering the players by allowing this to go on, because it's a scrum. It's a different kind of tactic from a different kind of sport. And all right, it's been effective. But we can see there are too many fouls in there, right? I'm saying that as a fan watching that, and a bit annoyed that they've conceded a goal or scored a goal like that. But we could have predicted that was going to happen because they do it every single week. It's horrible to watch, Paul, but do you think it's crossing the line of what's legal in the game? Do you think there's enough evidence in there to go like, this actually shouldn't be allowed, it's a nonsense?
Well, they've set a precedence with it. When you go and watch other teams now, they're trying to copy it because people would do anything desperate to win games of football. But to see a club like Arsenal doing it, if United were doing it, I'd be seriously critical. I'd be critical of Liverpool. I'd be critical of Tottenham. All the big name clubs. I'd be critical. I mean, what they're doing, the way they're playing Arsenal, they are a Watford of old. They are a Sheffield Wednesday. Wimbledon to a point, but Wimbledon were never this structured. Wimbledon just had individual thugs, but they wasn't as orchestrated as what Arsenal are. Watford were under Graham Taylor, very much so. That's the way they were. They were set piece, but they wasn't what Arsenal were. They wasn't like that premeditated in everything they do. It wasn't that way. Sheffield Wednesday were very much so under Howard Wilkinson to that point as well, playing that way. Everything was regarding fitness for them to be able to overpower, and dead balls was a major part. And by the time it come to about March, those players were flogged and those teams just crept away. But everything he does I call it fear football, because what he is really, he's worked under Pep. He's got some of his ideas are Pep, but he hasn't. But he's fearful of playing the football. So in theory, he's a Poundland Pep. That's what he is. So he's gone out. He's been given more money than any ever Arsenal player, Arsenal manager. So he brings in Zubimendi, who come on against England in the Euros and was incredible. Everyone saw Rodri going off. He comes on. Mourinho played in that as well. We signed Eze. Manchester United signed Eze. He would be seen touted as one of the best midfield players in the country, without a shadow of a doubt. If he'd have come, because he would have had freedom to play the way he does, because they signed him off the back of what he was doing for Palace. He was their one with the ball. He was their instigator of everything, running with it, seeing passes early, scoring incredible goals with both feet. And they've taken that away from him. Yeah. And you look at all their players and money they spent on, they have turned around and said, we've signed you, but we're going to relinquish everything that we brought you for, because you're going to play this way. And that's what he's done. And now you see Eze sitting on the bench and coming on to try and save the game. He can't be happy. He goes and scores a hat-trick in their North London derby. That should have given him, that should have said, you're playing every single game. Yeah. But he hasn't hardly played since that time. So all their good footballers really are not allowed to do it as what they want to do. His substitutions were more about dead balls. You do not bring on White to win you a game from general play. You just don't do it. So he's come on to be a thug with the goalkeeper, to go in there and start mixing it, because you've seen him. People say, look, he's got a face like a card player. It doesn't give a lot away. You can see it in his face. No, it's Botox. So he just doesn't. The bloke's just like that, and he's got no great. He's just in there to be a thug. Mourinho coming on as well. So Arsenal are always going to be that way. And if you're a fan, you are seriously disappointed, Wayne, in what you're seeing from, in theory, for me when I was growing up, Arsenal were big in the sense of everyone saw them as a club that presented themselves the best in the country. The whole little rulings they done. When one wears long sleeve, they all wear long sleeves. Everything, the whole thing. Everything. So no, they haven't covered themselves in glory. If they were to win the league, they'll be, for me, the worst Premier League winners in God knows how many years. Regardless,
probably all time.
Yeah, but everyone says, and I've said it, and I'd be a hypocrite if I was to go against it, the best team over a season wins it. Yeah. And I have to stick with that, but then you've won it on the factor of the league is really poor. No teams now aren't as brave as what they used to be. There isn't many individuals, because maybe individuals they're not allowed to play anymore. It's the most non-entertaining season there's ever been in the Premier League as well. So you can have all that if you want it that badly. If you're having to, a club of your stature, sink that low to win a league title, and then you're going to go out and try and sell it with all your PR stunts. Yeah.
And what about the legality of the goal?
Oh, well, I'm looking there and I'm looking up. I mean, what I would want to do really is revitalise goalkeepers back from the 70s and 80s and watch them react to what some of those opposing players do to them, and there'll be elbows and right-handers in their faces. Yeah. And the referees, and you bring back the old-fashioned referees, and then when it was said to me when I was trying to be a bit clever in the box one time and I got elbowed in the face, the referee just looked at me and said, well, you started it, you deserve it. Yeah. You know, simply, that's what the referee, and it's got to happen. It has to happen some point, that they've got to deal with that, because they're making, they're paying some little fella who's mostly earning good money, and that's supposed to be organised. I could go and do that in the marketplace by throwing a tenner in the middle of people and see how many people go and grab it. Anyone can go and create that. They all go and stand outside the back line. I call it the bus stop. They all stand in the line at the back post. It's the bus stop. I thought they're going to dance. It's embarrassing that Arsenal are doing that. And, and he stands up, by the way. The free kick coach, waiting for him to score so he can get a pat on the back from the manager and glory and stuff. It's absolutely disgusting when you watch a club of that stature where they've gone to. The one thing I will say, which doesn't make sense, if a referee's that then, and this is where those little bods in the broom cupboard at Heathrow could suddenly come in, is that when you look at someone marking someone, and this is an incredible skill, by the way, because I was 17, 18 years as a defender, is that I've never been able to mark anyone by having my back to where the ball's coming from and just facing that man. I've never had that skill to be able to do that. Being able through the back of my head to see where the ball's going, to be able to know where my man is, and then be able to jump and win it. I've never had that skill, and nor has anyone else. So how can you be facing your man, holding him, and not look at the ball? And then when they score, you want to turn around and have a go at people. It doesn't make any sense. So the moment that's happening, a referee's someone has to stop it and say to him, who's coaching you? What kind of defending is that? Because whatever happens, you're going to foul him. Because the moment he moves, you don't know where the ball is. You don't know which way to go. So you're just going to grab him. So it's wrong. So if they're practicing that during the week, it's absolutely, so they're actually practicing with maybe those poor young, I'm going to say apprentices, but it's not apprentices. After apprentices was YTSs. What are they called now, these kids who don't clean boots anymore?
Young professionals, Paul.
Yeah, right. Okay. I thought they've kept it. It's the only thing they've kept simple in the game. They're called young professionals. Got them out there, and they're going to get pulled, battered around, just so that they can just win. You know, people can do that from the corners bit of it. There's tactical, and there's carnage. And if that's how you want to do it, so be it. But their substitutions was about causing carnage. So that isn't one of the biggest clubs in club football. That is just a side that you put. I'll tell you what, they'll learn a massive lesson if they went up against first division and second division sides in doing that, because first and second division players would not stand for that nonsense. And a few of those prima donnas would wake up with a few sore noses, and they'll be going to the manager saying, what is this garbage?
Yeah.
What is it? You go and sign world-class players and you bring them in and you put that to them, they'll look at you, they'll go, what's going on? What's that?
Yeah. They can hide behind the results, can't they? And the fact that they're top at the moment. But I think you're right on that. I just think, you've got some great players in there, and they don't even look like they tried to score goals from open play. They look like the goal that they scored from open play looked like it was an accident trying to win a corner. I've never seen anything like it. And so they play like that, and you'd say that's anti-football. I would probably. I had a good chat, funnily enough, a couple of years ago with Jamie Carragher, where we were talking about Benitez and Mourinho, and about how they changed the league, not in a good way, because they both tried to not lose games of football rather than win games of football. And that was when the league really hit a pit, and it took a really good, united, vibrant side and Arsenal as well, who were better than this Arsenal side. Forget comparing them to the 08 United side. Compare this Arsenal to the 08 Arsenal side. They're not as good as them. It took those sides playing good football to sort of raise the standard of the quality, the watchable aspects of the league back. But at least Chelsea and Liverpool, if they tried to win 1-0, they just tried to score that goal no matter what, and then they knew how to defend the goal. It wasn't all about set pieces all the time. And this is just honestly, it's ridiculous. And I think, like, you're quite right. I think at some point, it doesn't happen now because it takes 6 minutes to look at every goal that Arsenal score, and the referees just are drawing the line there somewhere. But if they were being fair and exercising VAR as it's meant to be exercised, then none of their goals would be counting from set plays. None of them would be. And I think that if they get someone in a studio, if they just employ one guy to look at them and run the clock back and say this is where the fouls are, educate the referees on what to look out for, then those goals are going to dry up very quickly. And that, it's not Sheringham standing on the near post and flicking it on, is it? That's a tactic from a corner. This is just a scrum. It is from a different sport employed into football. And
there was just once, Wayne, where they tried to do a Scalzi against Bradford.
Oh, to Saka on the edge.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. I think myself, you're doing that with Saka. I think myself, no, that's not the player. What are you trying to do? It didn't make it totally. It failed miserably. But if they just done things like that, just changed it up, add something, variations. They're paying again. I mentioned him. They're paying someone what 60, 70 to 120 grand a week. not maybe a set piece coach. I don't know what they earn. I couldn't tell you. I just made up those numbers because everything's big now. To do what he's doing, and there's only one time they altered it to do something, a different variation. You think so? If you're going to employ someone like that, I mean, Terry Venables was, as a player, he was incredible. He organised all the free kicks. As a coach, from the moment he was at Palace, Palace always had unbelievable free kicks. Yeah. Always something different. Nothing involved thuggery or anything like that. It was just different things, different skill sets. Because you had the players there with the skill sets to add something different. Now, that's what you're paying your money for, in wages for those kind of players. People are paying at Arsenal. Arsenal must be the dearest ground in London to go to and watch a game. And you're asking these people to come in and you're saying, entertain us, show us things that but we're paying big money for. And all of a sudden, you turn up there and all you're doing, you're watching a pantomime. You're watching a pantomime in the middle of a field somewhere. Somebody just put a stage up. I mean, that's what you're watching. That's the quality that you're getting from Arsenal when you watch them. And some people might come and say, I'm just biased against Arsenal, whatever. No, I'm not. I've always been that side. Arsenal were the first club I talked to before I come to United. And I didn't go at that time because it was George Graham and because maybe in a way it was out of respect at that time. I was at Queen's Park Rangers and they were kind of matching Arsenal at that time. Oh, yeah, and by the way, the wages they offered me were no different to QPR. So that come into that a little bit. But I'm just looking at what that club is, and I'm just disappointed. I'm disappointed the way they play. I'm disappointed in the way their fans react to everything, the way they are. They've made themselves, they want to be victims. They think it's great to be a victim when you don't win. And when they do win, they want to call everyone out. Yeah. When they do win, so, they've just got to understand it. If you're a side and you've achieved a lot and you don't behave in that manner. You don't act that way. It's, and they've just disappointed themselves really. And I must say, you look at that, you go back to the game at the weekend, go to the first game of the season, and you're looking at it and you say to yourself, Manchester United have dominated the so-called champions-elect of the Premier League on 2 occasions.
Yeah, it tells you a lot about, I think, you're a United fan, you want to go like, oh, well, that's really good it bodes well for United in the future. And I guess it does in the straightforward kind of term, but I mean, it tells you so much more about the standard of the league, which is something that we keep saying, or I keep saying at least. Mm-hmm. Ultimate Goals says, if Arsenal don't win the league while playing like that, then this is the biggest comeuppance they can receive. Bodyguard football for a second place parade. Yeah, it's horrible to watch. Let's talk about very quickly, because I've just done angry old men for 18 minutes about a goal we conceded in a game we won. But we argue for the love of the game, guys. That's the point. So it doesn't matter that we won. It's better that we won and we're still complaining about it because at least we're being honest about what we're talking about. And by the way, we're arguing for Arsenal's benefit here. Like, think of the Arsenal fans. They want to see good football for like $2,000 a season ticket. Don't want to just see everyone parked in front of a thing. Look, who's that? Who scored? Don't know because they're all pushing and pulling. Well, we could definitely see the 2 goal scorers for United in the second half. The first, Patrick Dogu, was played really well lately, played in the attacking positions, and there's been a lot of doubt about him beforehand. I'll admit, holding my hands up here to saying, didn't think that there was a player in there, but oh my God, what a player there seems to be. He's playing really well in these attacking positions. All right, his decision making not always the best, and he did a strike that was like wild at one point. I think it was just after he scored, getting a bit excited. But the goal that he did score, oh my goodness, what a strike! Bit of a hint, people saying a handball in there. I think it struck his side, and I think it seemed obvious from the replay. But I mean, the play beforehand, I'd never seen anything like it. It was like Harlem Globetrotters, Bruno and him, like 2-1-2s with each other, just played around Arsenal. I didn't expect Arsenal to be that static, to be played around, and they just did it so superbly. Ball drops nicely, a sweetest strike. I mean, you could never plan to strike a ball like that. That's what made it beautiful, I guess. The way that it all came together. Paul, obviously a goal of a lifetime for him. He scored a couple of good ones, like the goal against City wasn't bad, and it was a very sweet strike against Newcastle as well. But I mean, good grief, that was special.
It was because of what happened. It was improvised. It was kind of off the cuff. It's what people pay good money to see. They want to see things like that now. They don't want to see, a drama of a goal made up and looks lovely and things like that, and then put across the box. They want to see things like that, and those things you can't plan for it. The 2-1-2s were improvised. There was off the cuff. There's not a lot they could do. They were going. If it broke down, you would have gone, oh well, the ball was up there. It was a little bit, but it was off the side of the foot. And then when he took it, and if you watched it, and I watched it in slow motion on 2 occasions, and the ball does hit him on the side, his hand's there, but he is so conscious of getting his hand out of the way. There wasn't a knee-jerk reaction. He kind of virtually just adjusted his body right. It just having the agility to be able to do that. And there isn't many, you get a few players that are like ironing balls, but he's able to adjust his body, hits him on the side, and he was able to pull it. And like you say, the strike was just something. It slightly comes off the outer side of the boot, not a lot, just a little bit, to take the ball up towards the left. And it was just one of them. You try that in training, you're not going to hit that. You're not going to hit, as they call it, top bin, that area too often on that kind of volley. And an awkward, you can't go into training and replicate a volley like that. You can't do it. It was just purely improvised, and it come at a moment, and it was a massive deflation to Arsenal because of that, the way that goal occurred. Everything about it went against them. That little bit of control of the game, and bang, you get something out of it, and scoring at that time, it was something. I mean, it absolutely stunned me when he done that. And like you said, he's looking better. I've watched him play for his national team, and he, up until the Newcastle game when he scored that first 45 minutes, hadn't seen anywhere near the same player. His confidence for his national team was far more better than what it was for Manchester United.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, you've seen little bits that he's coming. Still not sure what his best position is, because you wonder now, because where he is now, could he become a left back? Because I'm watching that game and I'm still saying fullbacks are needed. Yeah. Fullbacks are needed. Luke Shaw done okay. Should have been booked for one incident. Then he goes and grabs Saka around because he's too lazy again. 1-on-1s, gets past, gets taken on the outside twice. Far too easy, no commitment to even try and block. Too upright, too stiff, no agility. Fullbacks are needed, and he can do that. I don't know. He can definitely attack better on that side. Now we can see that he's decent in that area. But that's what was missing, especially in that first half. The fullbacks are too static. There's no legs.
Yeah. No, that's fair. We'll talk about Fulham in a second and where Dogu might play. But the same arguments could be made for Cunha and Willie getting the team. And he made a really good argument for himself. He did against City, to be fair. He might have been wondering, oh, maybe I should have started this one. But shows you a lot about his professionalism. Man for the job. He's like, all right, I knew what I needed to do against City. He was, if anyone was there at the game, you might remember Carrick and him. They were stood intently for a minute, nearly, talking about what he was going to do. And obviously played from the right, which isn't his usual position, and scored the goal. Well, he played through the middle on Sunday. Until Seshko came on. Actually, no, so Seshko did come on through the middle, and so he must have been playing from
the left.
From the left.
Yeah.
So, but he did the job that he was asked to do, and didn't clip a fuss about it, which is a really good thing. And Mbeumo looked disappointed when he came off. And to be honest, I thought, is this just a substitution for the sake of a substitution? Like, feeling that 70 minutes, you've got to make it. I didn't think there's any real reason to bring Mbeumo off, because I didn't think he was knackered. Like, I could understand it last week, just coming back from the AFCON. But no, the tactical switch was brilliant. I don't think he would have brought on Seshko if he needed, if he didn't need to. But of Dogu pulling up in the way that he did. But Cunha scores a goal. We said that Dogu was off the cuff and he couldn't do that again. Cunha, you think he could do that in his sleep? Just like, that kind of finish was absolutely just like, I've never seen a 25-yard curler so composed. Like, it was like almost like Beckham-esque in a way. You give him the time, or Scholes, give him the time and do it. He's going to do it every single time. He can pick that spot. Like you said, maybe the goalkeeper's just not prepared for it. Not as stunning as Dogu's, but in terms of like the composure, the ability to do that in the last minute of the game, last minutes of a game to win it when you've just conceded a goal, it's just a spectacular in its own way, wasn't it?
It was, and you could argue which one's the best goal. If you're looking for something instinctive, Dorgu's going to win it all day long. But if you football lovers and appreciation of the game, if someone could just actually paint you a picture of how that game had gone previously and what had happened just before, and then you get someone go and score that kind of goal after that, then people will go on that goal. Given that, to be able to take the ball inside and that skill set to be able to do what he done and hit it like that. Yes, we're seeing people, these wide players who keep coming inside, keep doing it, keep shooting, and when they score 1 out of 50, all of a sudden they're world class. Cunha does do that a lot, gets close all the time because it's in his mindset. But he can do that from either side. He can score all kind of goals. But when you talk about the substitutions already are 100% better than what they were previous. Because on 2 occasions now, yes, he took a Bueno, and I was one of them, and I said, still in that position, but if anything goes a bit wrong, you want someone on there you believe can score a goal. But on the other side of it, you bring on a Cunha, and thinking how I would as a defender, you think you're chasing a game. The last thing you want is someone taking off somebody and bringing on somebody who wants to run further but can run faster as well. So
and with the ball, it can be a right terrier with the ball, can't it?
Yeah, and 9 out of 10 Premier League managers, 9 out of 10, I'm going to say 99% of Premier League managers in that situation, when they bring off someone from that front line, they would bring on someone negative to keep what they've got, to try and keep. And I don't think you can do it, because the moment you bring someone to go and sit further back, it becomes an extra chef in the kitchen. That means all of a sudden who's going to be doing what, because straight away you don't know when the first reaction comes to do a job. You're like that. And then on the other side of it is that you're what you're doing is you're actually, that team actually goes woof, and they step forward because they haven't got to worry about that pace anymore. They step forward as a back four and step on you and get control of the ball, and then they can try and pick up it. And they virtually haven't got that midfield anymore, haven't got that front player who's trying to close them down. Seen it so many times under Anmarin, is that teams have done that. They've stepped on, they've given up leads off the back of it. Teams get control and it becomes panic mode to the end. And if you win the game, everyone says, oh, I've done this, give you all the good stories, all the positive notes. It's negative. It's a negative one, and you open yourself up to get broken down and to concede. So having 3 points, you could only have in 1. From sitting there having 1 point, you could end up with nothing. And that happened on too many occasions, Wayne. Carrick has done it on 2 occasions, and he's done it right. Okay, if he doesn't, whatever, but it takes away pressure off the back four if you bring on someone forward who's willing to run on.
Yeah. I'll tell you, it's one thing I've noted about Carrick, calling this very, very early before anyone else gets on it. And I might be wrong, but it's something we'll talk about in the next coming weeks. Probably be more clear after next week's game, to be honest. Certainly with a bigger sample size of maybe 10, maybe the rest of the season. I think there's something in this to say, like, if you remember, United always played 4-4-2. Even when Carrick came, played 4-4-2 all the time. That was formation. Moving on, and nothing wrong with that. But he was in the team when United played Roma at Old Trafford, and we switched to
7-0.
7-1.
7-1.
We switched to 4-2-3-1, and we played in a very dynamic kind of way. And there were different kinds of roles and responsibilities, because obviously we played quite differently on that game. And different things were asked of the players on that night. And I do wonder if there's something in Carrick's modus operandi where he's going like, this is the way that teams play now. So this is, if I can tune myself into the way that we played that night and try and get as many of the same messages across, that we can play with the same kind of attacking spirit. Because obviously I'm not saying that we were... I can't even say that it's not, though. There's something comparable with the spirit of it. I'm not saying that you're going to win every game 7-1. Of course I'm not. But I think the evidence of the next few games might tell us that that's the kind of game that he's trying to play, rather than just a straightforward 4-4-2 or a straightforward thing. I think the principles that we're on, and it's easy to say that when you're winning games of football. I know that you can draw lots of the similar characteristics. I just feel that maybe that's a game that he was influenced by. A lot of managers are influenced by single games. How many managers said that they were influenced by... I think Gordon Jago was telling me England and West Germany game that he was influenced by because of how Germany set up tactically, and how many people said they were influenced by Hungary, England. There's so many different games that have influenced managers. We'll see. Anyway, very quickly before we wrap up, Fulham next week. Surprised to see, I know you wouldn't be because you follow Fulham, but I was surprised to see that they were 7th, that they've done so well. Marco Silva, and I know he was mentioned for the job at some point when all the names were being mentioned, but I didn't realise Fulham were doing so well, and a great win for them, albeit last-minute winner against Brighton at the weekend. But if there's one thing going against them, Paul, it's probably their away form. They've lost, they won at Spurs, they've won at Burnley, and they won at West Ham, but apart from that, quite poor away from home. But still, I say poor. I don't really mean poor. I mean, if there's one thing in the game that's not been quite so good this season, that's the thing that's not been quite so good. What are you expecting to see from Fulham? So obviously they've had a good record at Old Trafford. I expect that they're going to come still wanting. I don't think they're going to shut up shop by any means. I think they're going to come and play for a result.
Yeah, but they've lost those games. Yeah, they've been poor getting results away from home. Performances haven't been bad.
No,
that's one thing about it. The performances haven't been bad. If anything, if you come away from the big boys, they've got maybe the player of the season in Harry Wilson.
He's played really well.
Yeah. That's what they've got at this moment in time as well. So it is going to be difficult. In normal circumstances, I'll be talking about everything negative about what could happen to a Manchester United side being at home against the likes of Fulham, because I was there for the game last season, and it was depressing with the late goal, wasn't it? The really late goal. Was it the penalty? Wasn't it? Was it the penalty at the end?
Was that last season or was that the season before?
Was that the season before? Blimey, now I keep forgetting.
Yeah. The one where Traore just sort of ran past.
Yes, it was the season before, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So it's little things like that obviously stuck in my head where they haven't done themselves any justice at all, Manchester United. So I look at it now, and I've said it with the games that are left. I think continuity is absolutely key now for Michael Carrick and Manchester United. Yeah. If you've got a group of players and they're doing everything so well together, don't go and do anything drastic now, thinking that you owe the others a game. The others, some of them maybe deserve it. Some of them don't deserve it. The ones in at the moment, you're finding out more about them. So go and use that off the back of 2 very good performances with wins, and do that, because between they've got now until next Sunday.
Yeah.
So don't worry about anyone. No one needs it. They want everyone at this moment in time. If they've got anything about them, they want to be involved with Manchester United. It's a great time to come back after what you've gone and done, beating City, then go in a game of that magnitude and perform like that, to come back to Old Trafford and then play there, knowing that if you go out there and you can go and give 60, 70% of that and get a result as well, the adulation coming in is everything that you'd want as a footballer and playing for that football club. So don't go and do anything drastic that isn't necessary. You don't have to worry about. Ask the player, is he fit? He might be he might have something, but it's amazing what you can play through if actually you're tested rather than someone telling you can't. So
Dogu, for example, will be wanting to play.
yeah. I don't know. I wonder if that was cramp. I think it was more cramp than a hamstring, just by the way it was. So he mostly be fine in that sense. So Dorgu might be him. He might have to do it, but still, it doesn't at the moment. No cup games or anything. I'll be absolutely honestly. I'll be bemused if he makes changes. If players are not getting in, turn around and just say, "How can I change it? Look at the way they're playing." Yeah. That was always the old adage all the time. You never knocked on the manager's door if you weren't playing and the team were winning games. He wouldn't. You just walk in. He'll just show you the results, and there you are. It's done. What are you going to say?
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to start dissing your teammates and thinking you're better than them. You should be doing that. You turn around and you put your arms out. So really, don't go and knock on the door until you see something. Even then, don't go and knock on the door, because then the manager knows in his head that he can't really trust you because you're a little bit of a snake.
Yeah. Well, the United's dressing room has been accused of having a few of those. But I mean, ironically, I guess what we would normally say is agree with Bill's comment here, Mazraoui for Dalot. But I mean, all the changes then you would make would be in defence, because you would say
they're limited. Up top, they're limited, aren't they, really?
Yeah, exactly. You're not going to make too many changes. But I mean, you would make one of the changes. You would put that Dogu into left back just to put Cunha back in the side, or put Sesko up front, but probably Cunha because he deserves it. But how else are you going to change that? You can't change anything. And if you are going to make 3 changes, you wouldn't make 3 changes in defence, because you don't want to unstabilize. You don't want to destabilize what you've already been building there. And that's us saying, I think everyone's been critical of Dalot, Maguire, and Shaw and why they're still playing for United, but they got through 2 games. We've played really well. They've earned their chance to stay in the side. I would probably go, like, if you're going to make changes, make them there. But I could see why you wouldn't do that. And I'm not there calling for the changes to be made. I'm there calling for United to play good football and win games of football. All right. It makes it a little bit easier for me to accept that, because Kobbie's back in the side. And obviously everyone knows how much I love Kobbie Mainoo. But it makes a big difference, and he played really well again. And apart from having a favourite in there, and Cunha, if he can find a way into the side, I want him to play as well, because I love him so much. But when you're winning and playing so well and scoring such spectacular goals, and it is looking like a Manchester United team, then you wouldn't want to make too many changes. And look, Paul said this before the City game, and he said it before the Arsenal game, and he said it right at the top of the show. Yeah, all right, it's about the next game. It's about what you do next. But really, in a certain way, motivation doesn't need to be a concerning factor when we're playing against City and Arsenal. The performances, yeah. So 100% we give all the credit to the players and to Michael Carrick for that. It is what happens next, and the games against Fulham and the next games, even against Spurs, a team who were struggling, all these kind of games that are coming up where the players will have to raise themselves, or they need Michael Carrick to do it. That's the test coming up. We haven't even mentioned in an hour and 10 minutes that United are back in the Champions League places. I think that's good.
That's one thing I mentioned yesterday as well. I said this will be about the 8th time of calling for Manchester United to make that top 4, and they've failed miserably every single time.
Yeah.
If they go and do a job, go and do it properly, and they've done it properly yesterday.
Yeah, and it's theirs. It's theirs. It's in their position now. So now they can. It's not a case of saying, "Oh, they can't do it for the rest of the season." It's theirs. It's in their possession, and it's for them to do it. And who would have thought we'd be saying that on January 1st? Anyway, we'll be back next week to talk about the game. Have a good one, guys. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching, and thanks to Paul for his time as